You will be doubted. That is a fact. But doubt is a gift because it forces you to sharpen your vision and forge your will. When the world tells you what you can't do, you look them in the eye and say nothing. You just march forward. Let them laugh. Let them mock, but never let them stop you. Because in the end, victory goes not to the most favored, but to the most focused. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? Listen to me carefully. Every great campaign begins in disbelief. The world will doubt you. Let them. That doubt is the gate. March through it. I was a Corsican nobody, a foreigner in France. Too short, they said, too ambitious, too young, too reckless. The aristocrats laughed at my accent. The generals dismissed my strategies. The politicians whispered about my origins. They saw weakness where I saw opportunity. They saw impossibility where I saw inevitability. But here's what most people don't understand about doubt. It is not your enemy. It is your first test. The world throws doubt at you like artillery fire, not to destroy you, but to see if you will retreat or advance. Most retreat. That is why most fail. Doubt is the first gate you must pass through on your way to greatness. And like any gate, it appears imposing only to those who fear to approach it. Walk closer. Examine it. You will see it is made of nothing but air and assumption. Push through it, and it dissolves. When I was 24, they doubted I could hold a cannon position. When I seized Toulon from the British, they doubted I could handle a real command. When I conquered Italy, they doubted I could govern. When I became first consul, they doubted I could stabilize France. When I crowned myself emperor, they doubted I could build an empire. Each doubt was a door. Each door led to victory. You think your situation is different? You think your doubters are more informed, more reasonable, more justified? You are wrong. Doubt is doubt. It springs from the same source: fear of what they cannot understand, envy of what they cannot achieve, and comfort in what they have already accepted as their limit. But let me ask you this: when has doubt ever built anything? When has skepticism ever conquered a nation, created an empire, or changed the course of history? Never. Action does that. Vision does that. Will does that. The moment you understand that their doubt has nothing to do with your capability and everything to do with their limitations, you become unstoppable. Their doubt is not evidence of your weakness. It is evidence of their blindness. So when they doubt you, do not argue, do not explain, do not defend. Simply note their position and move past them. Let them stand at the gate, wondering if it can be opened, while you march through it and continue your advance. The battlefield does not care about their opinions. Victory does not ask for consensus. Greatness does not wait for approval, and neither should you. Every emperor was once doubted. Every conqueror faced skeptics. Every revolution began with someone the world refused to believe in. The difference between those who achieved and those who dreamed is simple. One group treated doubt as information, the other treated it as instruction. Doubt is not a stop sign. It is a starting gun. When you hear it, you know the race has begun. When you feel it, you know you are on to something worth pursuing. When others express it, you know you are ahead of them. March through that gate. Let them doubt. Let them wonder. Let them watch as you prove that their disbelief was nothing more than the first obstacle you conquered on your way to dominance. Others project their limits onto you. Reject them. Their doubt reflects their weakness, not your potential. You must understand something fundamental about human nature. When people doubt you, they are not making a statement about your abilities. They are making a confession about their own limitations. They are telling you what they cannot do, what they cannot see, what they cannot imagine. They mistake their ceiling for your floor. I learned this at the military academy. My classmates saw my Corsican heritage and decided I was inferior. They saw my height and assumed I lacked presence. They saw my intensity and called it madness. But what were they really seeing? They were seeing themselves, their own fears, their own smallness, their own acceptance of mediocrity. When someone tells you that your goal is impossible, they are revealing their own relationship with impossibility. When they say you are not qualified, they are confessing their own insecurities about qualification. When they claim you are too young, too old, too inexperienced, too different, they are simply announcing the excuses they have made for their own inaction. But let me ask you this. Why would you allow someone else's limitations to become your reality? Why would you accept their definition of what is possible when they have never attempted what you are attempting? The generals who doubted my tactics had never won a campaign. The politicians who questioned my vision had never built anything lasting. The aristocrats who mocked my origins had inherited everything and earned nothing, yet somehow I was supposed to value their opinion about what I could achieve. This is the trap that destroys most dreams, the belief that external doubt carries more weight than internal conviction. You start to think that because they doubt you, perhaps you should doubt yourself. You begin to wonder if they see something you cannot see. You start to question your own judgment. Stop. Right now. Stop giving their doubt more credit than your own vision. Their doubt is not prophecy. It is not wisdom. It is not even observation. It is projection. They are taking their own fears, their own failures, their own limitations, and painting them onto your future. They are assuming you will stop where they stopped, fail where they failed, surrender where they surrendered. But you are not them. You do not have their history. You do not have their fears. You do not have their relationship with failure. You have your own path, your own will, your own capacity for greatness. When the Directory doubted I could stabilize the French Republic, were they wrong because they were stupid? No. They were wrong because they were thinking like politicians, not like conquerors. They could not see beyond their own experience of political maneuvering and compromise. They projected their methods onto my situation and concluded it was impossible. But I was not operating from their playbook. I was writing my own. Here's what most people don't understand about doubt. It is always based on past experience. Someone tried something similar and failed, so they assume you will fail. Someone else lacked the skill or will to succeed, so they assume you lack it too. Someone before you gave up when things got difficult, so they assume you will give up, but you are not someone else. You are not bound by their story. You are not limited by their capacity. You are not doomed to their fate. When they doubt you, they are really saying this: I could not do that, so you cannot do that. They are making you responsible for their limitations. They are asking you to honor their weakness by accepting it as your own. Refuse. Refuse their doubt. Refuse their projection. Refuse their limitations. Your truth is not found in their opinion. Your potential is not measured by their experience. Your future is not determined by their past. You have something they do not have: the willingness to attempt what they would not attempt. That alone makes their doubt irrelevant. They are judging a game they refused to play, criticizing a path they were too afraid to walk, questioning a vision they were too small to see. Let them doubt. Let them project. Let them assume. While they waste time explaining why something cannot be done, you will be doing it. While they debate your chances, you will be creating your certainty. While they predict your failure, you will be engineering your success. Their doubt is not your truth. Their limitations are not your boundaries. Their fear is not your reality. Remember that, and you will never be stopped by anyone's opinion again. Vision is the mark of leadership. You must see it before others do, and keep moving while they stare in confusion. The difference between a leader and a follower is not courage. It is not intelligence. It is not even skill. The difference is vision, the ability to see what does not yet exist and act as if it already does. When I looked at the Italian campaign, I did not see the ragged, demoralized army that others saw. I saw speed. I saw surprise. I saw the opportunity to divide and conquer enemies who thought they were stronger. I saw victory before the first shot was fired. The generals saw problems. I saw possibilities. They saw obstacles. I saw advantages. They saw reasons to delay. I saw reasons to attack immediately. But here's what most people don't understand about vision. It is not magic. It is not a gift that some have and others lack. Vision is the result of refusing to accept current reality as permanent reality. It is the ability to look beyond what is and imagine what could be. Most people look at their circumstances and ask, "What can I do with this?" Leaders look at their circumstances and ask, "What can this become?" The first question limits you to existing resources. The second question opens infinite possibilities. When they doubted I could cross the Alps with an army, they were looking at the mountains. I was looking at what lay beyond them. They saw barriers. I saw surprise. They saw impossibility. I saw the enemy's undefended flank. Vision requires you to think past the immediate. While others focus on today's problems, you must focus on tomorrow's opportunities. While they see current limitations, you must see future potential. While they ask, "How can this work?" you must declare this will work and then figure out how. But let me ask you this. Why do most people lack vision? Because vision requires responsibility. When you see something that others cannot see, you become responsible for bringing it into reality. When you have a vision, you can no longer make excuses. You can no longer blame circumstances. You can no longer wait for someone else to act. Vision is dangerous because it eliminates your ability to remain ordinary. Most people prefer blindness to vision because blindness comes with excuses. If you cannot see the opportunity, you cannot be blamed for missing it. If you cannot envision success, you cannot be criticized for not achieving it. If you cannot imagine greatness, you cannot be held accountable for accepting mediocrity. But once you see what is possible, everything changes. Once you have a vision, you must pursue it or live in constant regret. Once you can imagine success, failure becomes a choice rather than a fate. This is why they doubt visionaries. Not because the vision is impossible, but because pursuing it requires becoming someone they are not willing to become. It requires taking risks they are not willing to take. It requires sacrificing comfort they are not willing to sacrifice. When I envisioned an empire stretching from Lisbon to Moscow, they called it madness. But they were not seeing what I was seeing. They were looking at the map as it was. I was looking at the map as it would be. They were thinking about the obstacles. I was thinking about the outcome. Your vision does not need their approval. It does not need their understanding. It certainly does not need their belief. Your vision needs only one thing: your commitment to making it real. Here's what most people don't understand about doubt. People doubt what they cannot see. They doubt what they cannot imagine. They doubt what threatens their comfortable assumptions about what is possible. But their inability to see your vision does not invalidate it. Their inability to imagine your success does not prevent it. Their inability to understand your path does not block it. Keep your vision clear. Keep it specific. Keep it compelling. When others see chaos, you see order waiting to be imposed. When others see defeat, you see lessons waiting to be learned. When others see endings, you see beginnings waiting to be seized. Vision is not about seeing the future. It is about creating the future. It is not about predicting what will happen. It is about deciding what will happen and then making it happen. While they stare in confusion at what they cannot understand, you move forward with clarity about what you will create. While they debate whether something is possible, you make it inevitable. While they wait for proof, you create evidence. See what they cannot see, then make it so obvious that even they cannot deny it. That is how you turn vision into victory, and victory into legacy. Do not waste time defending your dream. Move in silence. Let your results make the noise. The greatest mistake you can make when facing doubt is trying to convince your doubters that they are wrong. You cannot argue someone into believing in your vision. You cannot debate someone into supporting your dream. You cannot explain your way to their approval. Words are weapons that work only on those already willing to be conquered. The truly doubtful are armored against your arguments. They have already decided what they believe. Your job is not to change their mind. Your job is to prove them irrelevant. When I planned the Italian campaign, I did not convene meetings to convince skeptical generals that my strategy would work. I did not write lengthy reports justifying my tactics. I did not waste time gathering consensus from those who could not see what I could see. I simply began executing. Silence became my strategy. Action became my argument. Results became my rhetoric. But here's what most people don't understand about defending your dreams. Every moment you spend justifying your vision is a moment stolen from achieving it. Every hour you waste arguing with doubters is an hour not spent proving them wrong. Every day you dedicate to convincing skeptics is a day not devoted to making your vision reality. The battlefield does not care about your explanations. Victory does not require anyone's permission. Success does not need anyone's approval. So why do you? When they question your methods, do not answer. Demonstrate. When they doubt your strategy, do not explain. Execute. When they challenge your vision, do not defend. Deliver. Silence is the sharpest sword because it forces you to focus on what matters. Results. When you stop talking and start working, something magical happens. Your energy shifts from defense to offense. Your focus moves from justification to execution. Your power transfers from words to action. But let me ask you this. Why do most people feel compelled to defend their dreams? Because they are seeking validation. They want approval. They need reassurance that they are not making a mistake. They crave confirmation that their vision is worthy. This is weakness disguised as communication. This is doubt disguised as transparency. This is fear disguised as collaboration. When you defend your dream, you are really asking for permission to pursue it. When you explain your vision, you are really seeking approval to follow it. When you justify your goals, you are really begging for validation to achieve them. Stop begging. Start building. The French Directory spent years debating political reform while the nation crumbled around them. They held meetings. They formed committees. They wrote proposals. They argued endlessly about the best path forward. Meanwhile, I was taking action. While they talked about stabilizing France, I was stabilizing France. Who do you think history remembers? The committee that debated change or the man who created it? Silence is not about secrecy. It is about focus. It is not about hiding your intentions. It is about concentrating your energy. It is not about avoiding communication. It is about choosing action over explanation. Here's what most people don't understand about silence. It creates mystery, and mystery creates respect. When people cannot predict your next move, they pay attention. When they cannot understand your methods, they respect your results. When they cannot explain your success, they acknowledge your power. But when you explain everything, you eliminate mystery. When you justify every decision, you invite criticism. When you defend every action, you encourage doubt. Move in silence. Work in silence. Plan in silence. Build in silence. Let your critics waste their breath on words while you save yours for commands. Let them debate your chances while you create your certainty. Let them question your methods while you perfect your execution. The world is full of people who will tell you what cannot be done. Do not join that conversation. The world is full of people who will explain why you will fail. Do not participate in that discussion. The world is full of people who will doubt your ability to succeed. Do not try to convince them otherwise. Instead, disappear into your work, vanish into your preparation, dissolve into your execution. Emerge only when your results are so undeniable that silence becomes louder than any argument you could have made. When they ask how you did it, then you can speak. When they request your methods, then you can teach. When they seek your wisdom, then you can share. But until then, let silence be your sharpest sword. Let action be your loudest voice. Let results be your most persuasive argument, because in the end, victory speaks louder than any words you could ever say. Every doubt thrown at you is information. Use it. Convert disbelief into precision, into motivation, into fire. The amateur sees doubt as discouragement. The professional sees doubt as intelligence. Every person who doubts you is revealing something valuable. What they believe your weaknesses are, what they think your limitations might be, what they assume will stop you. This is reconnaissance. This is battlefield intelligence. This is your enemy showing you their battle plan before the fight begins. When the Austrian generals doubted I could move my artillery through the Italian mountains, they were telling me exactly what they were not prepared to defend against. When the British naval commanders dismissed my ability to coordinate land and sea operations, they were revealing the gaps in their own strategic thinking. When the Russian aristocrats laughed at my impossible march to Moscow, they were advertising their failure to imagine what determination could accomplish. But here's what most people don't understand about turning doubt into strategy. You must listen to the doubt without absorbing it. You must analyze the criticism without accepting it. You must study the skepticism without succumbing to it. Doubt is data, but it is not destiny. When someone tells you that your goal is unrealistic, they are giving you information about their understanding of reality. When they say your timeline is impossible, they are revealing their relationship with time and urgency. When they claim your resources are insufficient, they are showing you their assumptions about what is required for success. But they are also showing you something else, where they expect you to fail. And that is exactly where you must become strongest. Every doubt is a spotlight illuminating what you must prove. Every skeptical comment is a target you must hit. Every dismissive prediction is a challenge you must accept and overcome. But let me ask you this. Why do most people let doubt weaken them instead of strengthen them? Because they treat doubt as truth instead of treating it as opinion. They accept criticism as fact instead of analyzing it as perspective. They internalize skepticism as reality instead of examining it as someone else's limitation. You must become a strategist of doubt. Study it, dissect it, understand its source and its substance. Then use that understanding to make yourself unstoppable. When they said I was too young to command, I made youth my advantage. I moved faster than older generals expected. I took risks that experience would have prevented. I brought energy that age could not match. Their doubt about my youth became my tactical superiority. When they said my army was too small, I made size my secret weapon. I concentrated force where they least expected it. I moved with speed that larger armies could not achieve. I struck with precision that massive formations could not duplicate. Their doubt about my numbers became my strategic advantage. When they said my background was too common, I made commonality my connection to soldiers. I understood their struggles because I had lived them. I spoke their language because it was my language. I earned their loyalty because I shared their origins. Their doubt about my birth became my bond with those who would win my battles. Doubt is not your enemy. Doubt is your instructor. It teaches you where others think you are weak. It shows you where they expect you to break. It reveals where they believe you will surrender. And then you do the opposite. Here's what most people don't understand about converting doubt into motivation. The goal is not to prove your doubters wrong. The goal is to prove yourself right. The goal is not to satisfy their skepticism. The goal is to exceed your own expectations. When you use doubt as fuel instead of accepting it as limitation, something powerful happens. You become more determined than you would have been without opposition. You become more focused than you would have been without challenge. You become more prepared than you would have been without skepticism. Their doubt does not weaken you. It strengthens you. Their skepticism does not slow you down. It speeds you up. Their disbelief does not discourage you. It drives you. Every you cannot becomes watch me. Every it is impossible becomes I will show you. Every you will fail becomes I will succeed despite you. Turn their doubt into your strategy. Turn their skepticism into your strength. Turn their disbelief into your determination. Let them give you the intelligence you need to plan your victory. Let them show you the weaknesses they think you have, so you can eliminate them. Let them reveal the obstacles they believe will stop you so you can overcome them. When you convert doubt into strategy, you transform your critics into inadvertent advisors. You turn your opponents into unknowing allies. You make your skeptics into unwilling contributors to your success. They doubt you to discourage you, but you use their doubt to prepare you. They question you to weaken you, but you use their questions to strengthen you. They challenge you to stop you, but you use their challenges to propel you forward faster than you ever thought possible. No one will give you permission. You must crown yourself. Authority begins when you stop waiting for approval. On December 2nd, 1804, I took the crown from the Pope's hands and placed it on my own head, not because I was arrogant, but because I understood something that most people never learn. No one grants you permission to be great. You must commission yourself. The world is full of people waiting for someone to tell them they are ready, waiting for someone to say they are qualified, waiting for someone to confirm they have permission to pursue their dreams. They wait for bosses to promote them. They wait for experts to validate them. They wait for society to accept them. They wait forever. But here's what most people don't understand about authority. It is not bestowed. It is claimed. It is not given. It is taken. It is not granted by others. It is generated by you. When I was a young artillery officer, I did not wait for someone to tell me I was ready to lead. I began leading. I did not wait for permission to think strategically. I began thinking strategically. I did not wait for approval to take initiative. I began taking initiative. Authority began the moment I stopped asking for it and started exercising it. But let me ask you this. Why do most people wait for permission instead of granting it to themselves? Because permission feels safer than responsibility. When someone else gives you authority, they share the blame if things go wrong. When you give yourself authority, you accept full accountability for the results. Most people prefer shared blame to solo responsibility. That is why most people remain followers instead of becoming leaders. Self-commission is dangerous because it eliminates excuses. When you crown yourself, you can no longer blame your circumstances on someone else's decisions. When you grant yourself permission, you can no longer wait for better conditions. When you claim your authority, you can no longer postpone your action. Self-commission forces you to act like the person you want to become before you have evidence that you are capable of becoming that person. It requires you to behave with authority before anyone acknowledges that authority. It demands that you lead before anyone agrees to follow. This is terrifying to most people, but it is liberating to leaders. When the directory was paralyzed by indecision, I did not wait for them to decide. I decided. When France needed stability, I did not wait for someone to create it. I created it. When Europe needed new order, I did not wait for permission to establish it. I established it. I commissioned myself as the solution to problems that others were only willing to discuss. Here's what most people don't understand about self-commission. It is not about ego. It is about necessity. It is not about arrogance. It is about action. It is not about being better than others. It is about refusing to wait for others to be better. The world needs people who will crown themselves when no one else will do it. The world needs people who will grant themselves permission when everyone else withholds it. The world needs people who will claim authority when circumstances demand leadership. If you wait for perfect qualifications, you will never be qualified. If you wait for complete preparation, you will never be prepared. If you wait for universal approval, you will never be approved. But if you commission yourself, if you crown yourself with the authority to pursue your vision, to follow your strategy, to execute your plan, you become unstoppable, not because you are perfect, but because you are moving. Self-commission is not about convincing others that you deserve authority. It is about convincing yourself that you are willing to accept responsibility. It is not about proving you are the best choice. It is about proving you are the only choice willing to act. When they doubt your qualifications, commission yourself. Anyway, When they question your readiness, crown yourself anyway. When they withhold their approval, grant yourself permission anyway. The battlefield does not check credentials. Victory does not require a vote. Success does not need consensus. What they require is someone willing to claim the authority to pursue them, even when, especially when, no one else is willing to grant that authority. You have been waiting for someone to tell you that you are ready. I am telling you now, you will never be ready. You will never be qualified enough. You will never have enough approval. You will never receive enough permission. But you do not need to be ready. You need to be willing. You do not need to be qualified. You need to be committed. You do not need approval. You need action. Commission yourself. Crown yourself. Grant yourself the authority to pursue your vision, follow your strategy, and execute your plan, because no one else will do it for you. And if you do not do it for yourself, it will never be done. The crown sits empty until someone has the courage to place it on their own head. The authority remains unclaimed until someone has the will to claim it. The permission stays ungranted until someone has the strength to grant it to themselves. Crown yourself. The world needs emperors, not subjects. They doubt you because they assume you won't last. Prove them wrong by refusing to quit. Let endurance be your revenge. Critics are lazy by nature. They assume you have the same relationship with difficulty that they do. They assume you will quit when things get hard, because that is what they would do. They assume you will surrender when faced with obstacles, because that is their pattern. They assume you will give up when progress slows, because that is their history, but you are not them. And their assumptions about your endurance are about to become their biggest mistake. When I faced the coalition armies across Europe, they had one strategy: outlast Napoleon. They believed that if they could make the campaigns long enough, costly enough, difficult enough, I would eventually tire and retreat. They were counting on my exhaustion, not my determination. They learned too late that endurance is not about strength. It is about refusal. It is not about capability. It is about commitment. It is not about feeling strong. It is about acting, strong even when you feel weak. But here's what most people don't understand about outworking critics. It is not about working harder than they work. It is about working longer than they expect you to work. It is not about being more talented than they are. It is about being more persistent than they thought possible. Most critics are spectators, not competitors. They comment from the sidelines while you battle on the field. They predict your failure from the comfort of their inaction while you risk everything in pursuit of your vision. This gives you an enormous advantage. They judge your endurance by their own. They measure your commitment by their standards. They evaluate your persistence through their lens. But their lens is distorted by their own limitations. But let me ask you this: why do critics assume you will quit? Because quitting is normal. Most people quit when things get difficult. Most people surrender when progress slows. Most people give up when the path becomes unclear. Your critics are simply playing the odds. Statistics are on their side. History supports their skepticism. Most dreams die not from opposition, but from abandonment by their own dreamers. But you are not a statistic. You are not history. You are not most people. When they said I could not maintain control of an empire stretching from Spain to Poland, they were betting on administrative exhaustion. When they predicted I could not fight wars on multiple fronts, they were counting on strategic overextension. When they claimed I could not govern while campaigning, they were assuming physical limitation. They were right about the difficulty. They were wrong about my response to difficulty. Outworking your critics is not about impressing them. It is about outlasting them. It is not about proving them wrong immediately. It is about proving them irrelevant eventually. It is not about winning every battle. It is about refusing to lose the war. Here's what most people don't understand about endurance. It is not a physical quality. It is a mental decision. It is not about having energy. It is about refusing to use lack of energy as an excuse. It is not about feeling motivated. It is about acting disciplined regardless of how you feel. Endurance is the compound interest of effort. Every day you persist. When others would quit, you gain an advantage. Every week you continue when others would stop, you increase your lead. Every month you endure when others would surrender, you make yourself unstoppable. Your critics expect you to follow the normal pattern. Initial enthusiasm followed by gradual decline, followed by eventual abandonment. They are waiting for these enthusiasm to fade. They are watching for the decline to begin. They are predicting the abandonment to come. Disappoint them, break their pattern, destroy their timeline. When they expect you to slow down, accelerate. When they predict you will, tire, intensify your effort. When they assume you will quit, recommit with greater determination than you had when you started. Let your endurance become their education. Let your persistence become their reality check. Let your refusal to quit become their introduction to what is actually possible when someone truly commits. But here's what most people don't understand about revenge through endurance. It is not about getting back at your critics. It is about getting ahead of your critics. It is not about making them pay for doubting you. It is about making yourself impossible to doubt. When you outwork every critic, outlast every skeptic, and outperform every prediction, something powerful happens. Your endurance becomes your reputation. Your persistence becomes your brand. Your refusal to quit becomes your identity. And once that happens, the criticism stops. Not because critics disappear, but because they learn that betting against your endurance is a losing proposition. Work when they sleep. Train when they rest. Plan when they relax. Execute when they hesitate. Continue when they quit. Persist when they surrender. Let endurance be your revenge. Let persistence be your response. Let refusal to quit be your final answer to every doubt. They ever expressed about your ability to succeed? They thought they knew your limits. Prove them wrong. They assumed they understood your commitment. Show them they were mistaken. They believed they could predict your persistence. Demonstrate that they have no idea what you are truly capable of when you decide not to quit. Obstacles will come. So plan for them. Strategy wins battles. Emotion loses them. The amateur hopes for easy victory. The professional plans for difficult war. The amateur assumes the path will be clear. The professional knows the path will be blocked. The amateur expects cooperation. The professional anticipates resistance. Which one survives when reality arrives? When I planned the invasion of Austria, I did not hope their armies would retreat. I planned for them to fight. When I prepared for the Russian campaign, I did not assume they would welcome me. I expected them to resist with everything they had. When I organized the Egyptian expedition, I did not count on British naval support. I prepared for British naval opposition. Planning for resistance is not pessimism. It is realism. It is not negative thinking. It is strategic thinking. It is not expecting failure. It is preparing for success despite opposition. But here's what most people don't understand about resistance. It is not random. It follows patterns. It has predictable sources. It arrives at foreseeable moments. And because it is predictable, it can be planned for, prepared against, and overcome. Resistance comes from three sources: those who benefit from your failure, those who fear your success, and those who simply cannot imagine change. Each source requires a different strategy. Each type of opposition demands a different response. Each form of resistance must be handled differently. But let me ask you this. Why do most people let resistance surprise them? Because they plan for the best-case scenario instead of preparing for the likely scenario. They assume their path will be easier than it actually is. They hope their opposition will be weaker than it actually is. They expect their challenges to be smaller than they actually are. This is not optimism. This is delusion, and delusion loses wars. When the coalition formed against me, I was not surprised. When Britain funded my enemies, I was not shocked. When Austria broke treaties, I was not stunned. I had planned for betrayal because betrayal was likely. I had prepared for deception because deception was probable. I had expected treachery because treachery was predictable. Strategy wins battles because strategy accounts for reality. Emotion loses battles because emotion ignores reality. Strategy prepares for what will happen. Emotion hopes for what should happen. Here's what most people don't understand about planning for resistance. It does not guarantee you will face resistance. It guarantees you will be ready when resistance arrives. It does not create obstacles. It creates solutions before obstacles appear. When you expect resistance, you are not afraid when it comes. When you plan for opposition, you are not paralyzed when it arrives. When you prepare for obstacles, you are not surprised when they appear. Instead, you are ready. You have contingencies. You have alternatives. You have responses prepared for every form of resistance you might encounter. The coalition thought they could defeat me through coordination. I had planned for their coordination by developing speed that made their coordination irrelevant. The British thought they could stop me through naval blockade. I had prepared for their blockade by creating land routes they could not control. The Russians thought they could destroy me through winter. I had accounted for their winter by planning a campaign timeline that avoided it. But here's what most people don't understand about overcoming resistance. You do not overcome resistance by fighting it directly. You overcome resistance by making it irrelevant. You do not defeat opposition by confronting it head-on. You defeat opposition by moving around it, under it, or through it so quickly that it cannot respond effectively. Resistance exists because your opponents think they understand your plan. Opposition forms because your enemies believe they can predict your actions. Obstacles appear because your critics assume they know your next move. Prove them wrong. Be unpredictable in your methods while remaining relentless in your pursuit of your objectives. Be flexible in your tactics while staying fixed on your strategy. Be adaptable in your approach while remaining committed to your destination. Expect them to try to stop you. Plan for them to oppose you. Prepare for them to resist you. Then execute with such speed, precision, and determination that their resistance becomes too little, too late. Strategy wins battles because strategy thinks beyond the current moment. Strategy plans for what opponents will do, not just what you want to do. Strategy prepares responses to likely problems, not just solutions to current challenges. When resistance comes, and it will come, you will not be surprised. You will not be unprepared. You will not be defeated. You will be ready. And readiness, combined with determination, is how every great victory is achieved. The battlefield belongs to those who plan for war, not those who hope for peace. Caution kills ambition. The world remembers the bold. Practice decisive action until it becomes your nature. Boldness is not recklessness. Boldness is calculated risk combined with absolute commitment to action. Boldness is seeing opportunity where others see danger and moving toward it while others retreat from it. Boldness is the difference between those who make history and those who merely read about it. At Arcole, when my army faced superior Austrian forces across a narrow bridge, caution would have suggested retreat. Strategy would have recommended delay. Wisdom would have counseled patience. But boldness demanded immediate action. I grabbed a flag and charged across that bridge myself. Not because it was safe, because it was necessary. The bridge was taken, the battle was won, the campaign succeeded, not through caution, through boldness. But here's what most people don't understand about boldness. It is not a moment of inspiration. It is a habit of decision. It is not something you summon occasionally. It is something you practice constantly. It is not an exception to your normal behavior. It is your normal behavior. Most people treat boldness like a special occasion suit, something they put on only when circumstances absolutely demand it. But by the time circumstances demand boldness, it is often too late to develop it. Boldness must be practiced in small decisions, so it is available for large ones. But let me ask you this. Why do most people choose caution over boldness? Because caution feels safer. Caution allows you to avoid immediate risk. Caution lets you postpone difficult decisions. Caution protects you from obvious failure, but caution also protects you from extraordinary success. Caution keeps you safe by keeping you small. Caution preserves your current position by preventing better positions. Caution eliminates dramatic failure by eliminating dramatic achievement. Caution is the enemy of greatness. When I decided to crown myself emperor, caution would have suggested waiting for more political support. When I chose to invade Austria, caution would have recommended more preparation time. When I planned the march to Moscow, caution would have demanded different timing. But boldness does not wait for perfect conditions. Boldness creates perfect moments through decisive action. Boldness does not seek permission. Boldness takes opportunity. Boldness does not ask if the time is right. Boldness makes the time right. Here's what most people don't understand about making boldness a habit. You must practice on small decisions to prepare for large ones. You must be bold in minor situations to develop the reflexes for major opportunities. You must choose action over hesitation in everyday moments to build the courage for life-changing moments. Boldness is a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. The more you practice decisive action, the more natural, decisive action feels. The more you choose courage over caution, the more courage becomes your default response. Start today. When faced with a decision, choose the bolder option. When presented with an opportunity, take it instead of analyzing it to death. When confronted with risk, evaluate it quickly and act rather than avoiding it indefinitely. Make boldness your habit before you need boldness for your breakthrough. But here's what most people don't understand about the relationship between boldness and doubt. Your critics expect you to be cautious because cautious people are predictable. They expect you to hesitate because hesitant people are manageable. They expect you to seek permission because permission-seeking people are controllable. When you make boldness a habit, you become unpredictable. When you practice decisive action, you become unmanageable. When you stop seeking permission, you become uncontrollable. This terrifies your critics because bold people are dangerous to the status quo. Bold people change things. Bold people disrupt comfortable arrangements. Bold people make things happen that others thought were impossible. The world needs bold people. History is made by bold people. Progress comes from bold people. But boldness requires practice, commitment, and the willingness to be misunderstood by those who mistake caution for wisdom. When they call you reckless, remember that they called every great leader reckless. When they say you are moving too fast, remember that speed often prevents opposition from organizing. When they claim you are taking unnecessary risks, remember that all progress requires risk and all achievement demands action. Be bold in your decisions. Be bold in your actions. Be bold in your commitments. Be bold in your pursuit of your vision. Practice boldness until it becomes automatic. Exercise courage until it becomes instinctive. Choose action over hesitation until decision becomes your nature. The world remembers the bold because the bold make things worth remembering. Caution preserves the present. Boldness creates the future. Caution maintains what exists. Boldness builds what could exist. Make boldness a habit. Practice it today. Use it tomorrow. Let it become so natural that when your moment of greatest opportunity arrives, you do not hesitate, you do not doubt, you do not delay. You act boldly, decisively, completely. Because that is who you have trained yourself to be. Greatness is forged when no one is watching. While they mock, you prepare. While they sleep, you sharpen. The world sees the victory. The world celebrates the triumph. The world remembers the moment of conquest. But the world does not see the preparation. The world does not witness the training. The world does not observe the countless hours of relentless refinement that made victory inevitable. While my critics debated my chances at dinner parties, I studied maps until dawn. While they gossiped about my ambitions in salons, I drilled with my artillery until my hands bled. While they slept in comfortable beds, I planned campaigns on cold battlefields. While they attended social gatherings, I attended to my education. In war. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who merely dream of it is not talent. It is not opportunity. It is not luck. The difference is what they do when no one is watching. But here's what most people don't understand about private preparation. It is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It is not inspiring to observers. Private preparation is grinding, repetitive, often boring work that builds the foundation for spectacular public performance. Most people want the applause without the rehearsal. They want the victory without the training. They want the mastery without the practice. They want the reputation without the preparation. But mastery is not a performance. Mastery is a process. And that process happens in private, away from crowds, away from critics, away from anyone who might be impressed or discouraged by what they see. But let me ask you this. Why do most people avoid rigorous private preparation? Because private preparation requires confronting your current limitations. It forces you to acknowledge what you do not yet know. It demands that you practice skills you have not yet mastered. It requires working on weaknesses rather than celebrating strengths. Private preparation is humbling, and most people prefer public confidence to private humility. When I was a young officer, I could have spent my evenings socializing with other officers, drinking wine, playing cards, complaining about our circumstances. Instead, I studied mathematics, read military histories, analyzed great campaigns, practiced artillery calculations until they became instinctive. My fellow officers thought I was obsessive. They called me antisocial. They said I was taking things too seriously. They were right. I was taking things seriously. I was taking them more seriously than they were, and when the opportunities came, when battles needed to be fought, campaigns needed to be planned, armies needed to be led, I was ready. Not because I was naturally gifted, but because I had prepared ruthlessly when preparation was private and unglamorous. Here's what most people don't understand about ruthless training. It is not about perfection. It is about readiness. It is not about eliminating all weaknesses. It is about strengthening your core capabilities until they become unbreakable. It is not about knowing everything. It is about mastering the fundamentals so completely that you can adapt to anything. Ruthless training means working on your skills when you do not feel like working on them. It means practicing when practice is inconvenient. It means studying when studying is boring. It means preparing when preparation seems unnecessary. Ruthless training means treating every private moment as an opportunity to become better than you were yesterday. While your critics mock your ambitions, use their mockery as motivation to prepare more intensively. While your doubters predict your failure, use their predictions as blueprints for what you must be ready to overcome. While your competitors rest on their current capabilities, use their complacency as your competitive advantage. Train ruthlessly, in private. Prepare when preparation is private. Work when work is unseen. Study when studying is unnoticed. Practice when practice is unobserved. Build your capabilities in darkness so you can demonstrate them in light. Develop your skills in silence so you can deploy them when the world is watching. Forge your readiness in solitude so you can perform when performance matters. But here's what most people don't understand about the relationship between private preparation and public performance. The more intensely you prepare in private, the more effortlessly you perform in public. The more ruthlessly you train when no one is watching, the more naturally you excel when everyone is watching. Public mastery is private preparation made visible. When the moment comes, when opportunity arrives, when challenges appear, when your time to lead finally comes, you will not need to hope you are ready. You will know you are ready. Not because you feel confident, but because you have prepared completely. While they mock, you prepare. While they sleep, you sharpen. While they doubt, you develop. While they rest, you ready yourself. Train ruthlessly in private. Prepare without. Applause, work without recognition, study without acknowledgement, because greatness is not built in public. Greatness is built in private and revealed in public. When your moment comes, you will be ready, not because you hope to be ready, because you trained to be ready, ruthlessly, completely, privately, until readiness became as natural as breathing. Talk is cheap. Execution is gold. Deliver results so undeniable they silence every critic. The world is drowning in talk. Everyone has opinions, everyone has theories, everyone has strategies, everyone has plans, but the world is starving for execution. The world is desperate for someone who will stop talking about what should be done and start doing what needs to be done. When the French Republic was collapsing under the weight of political paralysis, the Directory had endless meetings about reform. They formed committees to study the problems. They commissioned reports on potential solutions. They debated endlessly about the best path forward. Meanwhile, the nation bled. I did not join their debates. I did not attend their meetings. I did not write their reports. I seized power and stabilized France, not through discussion, through execution. But here's what most people don't understand about execution. It is not about having the perfect plan. It is about having the courage to act on an imperfect plan and improve it through action. It is not about eliminating all risk before moving. It is about managing risk while moving. It is not about guaranteeing success before beginning. It is about creating success through beginning. Execution separates leaders from talkers, achievers from dreamers, conquerors from commentators. Anyone can develop a strategy. Only executors can deliver results. But let me ask you this. Why do most people talk more than they execute? Because talking feels like progress without requiring risk. Talking allows you to appear busy without being productive. Talking lets you seem intelligent without being effective. Talking gives you the illusion of accomplishment without the responsibility of results. But execution demands everything talking avoids. Execution requires risk. Execution demands accountability. Execution forces you to confront reality rather than discussing theory. Execution makes you responsible for outcomes, not just opinions. When I planned the Italian campaign, I could have spent months refining the strategy, gathering more intelligence, securing additional resources, building broader consensus. Instead, I executed with the plan I had, the intelligence available, the resources at hand, and the support I could secure. The campaign succeeded not because the plan was perfect, but because execution turned an imperfect plan into undeniable results. Here's what most people don't understand about proving yourself through execution. Your critics will never be convinced by your arguments. They will only be silenced by your achievements. They will never believe your promises. They will only acknowledge your performance. They will never trust your predictions. They will only respect your results. Stop trying to convince them through words. Start convincing them through works. Execution is the ultimate argument. When you deliver results, debate ends. When you achieve outcomes, discussion becomes irrelevant. When you produce success, skepticism dissolves. But execution is not just about big moments and major victories. Execution is about daily discipline, consistent action, relentless forward progress. Execution is about doing what you said you would. Do when you said you would do it, regardless of how you feel about doing it. Small executions build into large achievements. Daily actions compound into historical accomplishments. Consistent execution creates unstoppable momentum. But here's what most people don't understand about the relationship between execution and doubt. Every successful execution makes the next execution easier. Every delivered result makes the next result more believable. Every achieved goal makes the next goal more attainable. Execution builds credibility with yourself as much as with others. When you prove to yourself that you can execute, you develop confidence in your ability to execute again. When you demonstrate that you can deliver results, you trust yourself to deliver results again. This creates a cycle of success. Execution leads to results. Results lead to confidence. Confidence leads to better execution. Better execution leads to better results. Your critics are counting on you to remain in the talking phase. They expect you to debate, discuss, and deliberate endlessly. They assume you will get lost in planning and never emerge into acting. Disappoint them. Execute before you feel ready. Deliver before you feel prepared. Achieve before you feel qualified. Let your execution be so swift, so decisive, so effective that your critics are forced to shift from questioning your ability to acknowledging your results. Let your achievements be so undeniable that skepticism becomes impossible. Prove it through execution, not through explanation, not through justification, not through argumentation, through execution, through results, through undeniable, unquestionable, unstoppable achievement. Talk is cheap because anyone can do it. Execution is gold because so few people will do it. Be among the few. Execute relentlessly. Deliver consistently. Achieve undeniably. Let your results speak louder than any words you could ever say. Never apologize for your ambition. Advance without hesitation. The battlefield does not wait. The world will tell you that your ambitions are too large. Your goals are too bold. Your timeline is too aggressive. Your vision is too grand. They will suggest you moderate your expectations, lower your targets, slow your pace, reduce your scope, ignore them. Advance without apology. When I set out to conquer Europe, they said my ambitions were excessive. When I planned to crown myself emperor, they called my goals presumptuous. When I envisioned an empire from Lisbon to Moscow, they labeled my vision impossible. They wanted me to apologize for dreaming big, thinking big, planning big. I refused. I advanced without apology, and I conquered an empire. But here's what most people don't understand about apologizing for ambition. When you apologize for your goals, you diminish them. When you defend your vision, you weaken it. When you justify your ambitions, you reduce them. When you explain why you want what you want, you give others permission to tell you why you should. Want less. Your ambition needs no justification. Your vision requires no explanation. Your goals demand no apology. But let me ask you this. Why do people pressure you to apologize for your ambition? Because your large goals make their small goals look pathetic. Because your bold vision makes their modest plans seem weak. Because your aggressive timeline makes their slow progress seem lazy. Because your refusal to settle makes their acceptance of mediocrity seem like surrender. Your ambition threatens their comfort with limitation. Your vision challenges their acceptance of the status quo. Your goals force them to confront their own lack of aspiration, so they try to shrink you down to their size. They attempt to reduce your vision to their level. They work to convince you that wanting more is somehow wrong, that dreaming big is somehow selfish, that pursuing greatness is somehow inappropriate. Do not listen. Do not apologize. Do not retreat. Advance. When I decided to invade Russia, everyone advised against it. The campaign was too ambitious, they said. The distance was too great. The risks were too high. The timeline was too compressed. They wanted me to apologize for attempting something so audacious. I did not apologize. I advanced, because the battlefield does not wait for consensus. Victory does not require approval. Conquest does not need permission. Here's what most people don't understand about advancing without apology. It is not about arrogance. It is about clarity. When you know what you want and why you want it, other people's comfort with your ambition becomes irrelevant. When you are clear about your destination, other people's approval of your journey becomes unnecessary. Advancing without apology means refusing to slow down to accommodate those who cannot keep up. It means refusing to shrink your vision to fit their understanding. It means refusing to reduce your goals to match their expectations. The battlefield does not wait. Opportunities do not pause for lengthy explanations. Circumstances do not hold still while you justify your ambitions to people who lack ambition. But here's what most people don't understand about hesitation. Every moment you spend apologizing for your ambition is a moment stolen from advancing toward your ambition. Every hour you waste defending your vision is an hour not spent implementing your vision. Every day you dedicate to explaining your goals is a day not devoted to achieving your goals. Time is the one resource you cannot recover. Momentum is the one force you cannot store. Opportunity is the one advantage you cannot preserve indefinitely. When the moment comes to advance, advance. Do not hesitate. Do not apologize. Do not seek permission. Do not wait for approval. Do not pause for consensus. Move now, with purpose, with determination, with absolute commitment to your vision, regardless of who understands it, regardless of who approves of it, regardless of who thinks it is too much. Your critics will never think your ambitions are appropriate. Your doubters will never believe your goals are reasonable. Your skeptics will never consider your vision achievable. So why waste time trying to convince them? Instead, convince them through achievement. Prove your point through performance. Validate your ambition through victory. Advance without apology toward the empire you intend to build. March without hesitation toward the victory you intend to achieve. Move without explanation toward the greatness you intend to claim. Let them call you presumptuous. Let them label you excessive. Let them claim you are too ambitious. While they debate your right to pursue greatness, you will be achieving greatness. The battlefield does not wait for the timid. Victory does not come to the apologetic. Empire does not belong to those who ask permission. Advance without apology. The world needs conquerors, not those who apologize for wanting to conquer. The world needs emperors, not those who feel guilty about seeking empire. The world needs leaders, not those who apologize for wanting to lead. Never apologize for your ambition. It is the fuel of progress, the engine of achievement, the foundation of every great accomplishment in human history. Advance, without apology, without hesitation, without looking back. Begin with small victories. Stack them. Confidence is built through momentum, and momentum makes you unstoppable. Empire is not built in a day. It is built one conquest at a time. Victory is not achieved in a single battle. It is achieved through a series of wins that build upon each other until defeat becomes impossible. When I began my rise, I did not start by challenging the greatest powers in Europe. I started by proving myself capable of winning smaller engagements, solving lesser problems, achieving modest objectives that others had failed to achieve. At Toulon, I did not conquer an empire. I took a port, but taking that port proved I could execute under pressure. Succeeding at Toulon proved I could deliver results when results mattered. Winning that engagement gave me the credibility to be trusted with larger responsibilities. Small victory led to larger opportunity. Larger opportunity led to bigger victory. Bigger victory led to greater responsibility. Greater responsibility led to ultimate triumph. But here's what most people don't understand about small victories. They are not consolation prizes. They are building blocks. They are not lesser achievements. They are foundational achievements. They are not stepping stones you use and discard. They are foundations you build upon. Most people dismiss small victories because they want immediate, dramatic success. They want to skip the building phase and jump directly to the completion phase. They want the empire without the provinces. They want the crown without the campaigns. But let me ask you this. Why do most people fail at big goals? Because they attempt big goals without first proving they can achieve small goals. They try to win wars without first proving they can win battles. They attempt to build empires without first proving they can govern provinces. Big victories require big capabilities. Big capabilities are developed through small victories. Small victories teach you how to win. They show you what success feels like. They prove to you that achievement is possible, but more importantly, small victories prove to others that you can deliver results. They establish your credibility. They build your reputation. They create the trust necessary for people to Support your larger ambitions. When I won the Italian campaign, I was not just conquering territory. I was building credibility for larger conquests. When I stabilized France as first consul, I was not just solving domestic problems, I was proving I could handle imperial responsibilities. Each small victory earned me the right to attempt a larger victory. Each successful campaign qualified me for a more ambitious campaign. Each achieved goal positioned me for a more audacious goal. Here's what most people don't understand about momentum. It is not just psychological, it is practical. Momentum creates resources. Momentum attracts allies. Momentum generates opportunities. Momentum builds capabilities. When you win consistently, even small wins, people begin to believe you will win again. When you deliver results regularly, even modest results, people begin to trust you with bigger challenges. When you succeed repeatedly, even in minor situations, people begin to support your major ambitions. Success breeds success. Victory enables victory. Achievement creates achievement. But momentum works both ways. Just as small victories build toward big victories, small defeats can compound into big failures. Just as consistent success creates unstoppable momentum, consistent failure creates insurmountable resistance. This is why you must be strategic about where you begin. Choose battles you can win. Select challenges you can overcome. Pick objectives you can achieve. Build your foundation of victory on solid ground, not shifting sand. But here's what most people don't understand about stacking victories. Each win must be meaningful, not just easy. Each success must build capability, not just confidence. Each achievement must prepare you for larger achievements, not just make you feel better about yourself. Your small victories should be chosen. Strategically, they should develop skills you will need for bigger victories. They should build relationships you will need for larger successes. They should create resources you will need for greater achievements. When you win small, study why you won. Understand what made victory possible. Identify what skills were required. Recognize what resources were necessary. Analyze what strategies were effective. Then apply those lessons to your next challenge, your next opportunity, your next potential victory. Make each small win a training ground for your bigger wins. Make each modest success a preparation for your major successes. Stack your victories, build your momentum. Create unstoppable forward progress through consistent achievement, reliable results, and dependable success. Your critics expect you to attempt something beyond your capability and fail dramatically. Disappoint them. Start with something within your capability and succeed consistently. Build your strength through victory, not through struggle. Win small first, then win bigger, then win biggest. Let each victory prepare you for the next victory until victory becomes your habit, success becomes your pattern, and achievement becomes your identity. Confidence is built through momentum. Momentum is built through victory. Victory is built through starting with wins you can achieve and building toward wins that once seemed impossible. Begin with small victories. Stack them carefully. Build your empire one conquest at a time, one success at a time, one unstoppable victory at a time. Doubt is contagious. So are dreams. Protect your mind by protecting your environment. You become who you surround yourself with. You adopt the beliefs of those closest to you. You absorb the attitudes of those you spend time with. You mirror the ambitions of those in your inner circle. This is not opinion. This is fact. If you surround yourself with doubters, you will begin to doubt. If you associate with quitters, you will be tempted to quit. If you spend time with those who accept mediocrity, you will start to accept mediocrity. If you allow negative voices into your inner circle, those voices will become your inner voice. But if you surround yourself with believers, you will strengthen your belief. If you associate with achievers, you will elevate your achievement. If you spend time with those who pursue excellence, you will pursue excellence. If you allow positive voices into your inner circle, Those voices will amplify your positive voice. Your environment is not neutral. It is either helping you or hurting you. It is either building you up or breaking you down. It is either supporting your vision or undermining your vision. But here's what most people don't understand about protecting their environment. They think they are strong enough to resist negative influence. They believe they can maintain positive thinking while surrounded by negative people. They assume they can pursue big dreams while associating with small thinkers. They are wrong. Environment is stronger than willpower. Influence is more powerful than intention. Association shapes identity more than individual determination. But let me ask you this: why do most people tolerate negative influences in their circle? Because they confuse loyalty with stupidity. They think supporting others means accepting their limitations. They believe helping friends means lowering their own standards. They assume caring about family means adopting their fears. This is not loyalty. This is self-destruction. This is not support. This is surrender. This is not love. This is limitation. When I assembled my inner circle as emperor, I did not choose based on friendship. I chose based on capability. I did not select based on loyalty alone. I selected based on vision. I did not pick advisors who would agree with me. I picked advisors who would elevate me. Murat brought courage. Davout brought precision. Berthier brought organization. Each member of my circle added strength to my strength, vision to my vision, capability to my capability. But I was ruthless about removing those who brought doubt, fear, limitation, or mediocrity to my environment. I could not afford their influence. My empire could not survive their impact. My vision could not tolerate their resistance. Here's what most people don't understand about keeping your circle clean. It is not about being cruel. It is about being strategic. It is not about abandoning people. It is about protecting your mission. It is not about becoming isolated. It is about becoming focused. You cannot save everyone. You cannot help everyone. You cannot inspire everyone, but you can surround yourself with people who will save, help, and inspire you to become everything you are capable of becoming. Your inner circle should be composed of people who believe in your vision, support your ambition, share your commitment to excellence, and push you to become better than you currently are. If someone in your circle consistently expresses doubt about your goals, remove them. If someone regularly predicts your failure, distance yourself from them. If someone constantly suggests you lower your standards, eliminate their influence from your life. This is not personal. This is professional. This is not emotional. This is strategic. This is not cruel. This is necessary. But here's what most people don't understand about the power of a clean circle. When everyone around you believes in your vision becomes stronger. When everyone in your environment supports your ambition becomes unstoppable. When everyone in your circle expects you to succeed, success becomes inevitable. A clean circle creates a success environment. A success environment creates success thinking. Success thinking creates success actions. Success actions create success results. Your circle should be your strength, not your weakness. Your environment should be your advantage, not your obstacle. Your associations should accelerate your progress, not slow your advancement. Doubt is contagious. If you allow doubters in your circle, their doubt will infect your thinking. Fear is transmissible. If you associate with fearful people, their fear will limit your actions. Mediocrity is transferable. If you surround yourself with average people, their averageness will become your ceiling. But dreams are also contagious. Vision is also transmissible. Excellence is also transferable. When you surround yourself with dreamers, visionaries, and excellent people, their qualities become your qualities. Keep your circle ruthlessly clean. Protect your environment with the same intensity you protect your goals. Guard your associations with the same care you guard your ambitions. Your mind is your most valuable asset. Your environment shapes your mind. Therefore, your environment is your most important strategic decision. Choose carefully. Choose strategically. Choose ruthlessly. keep your circle clean, and your circle will keep your vision clear, your ambition strong, and your path to success unobstructed. If no one doubts you, you're not leading. Doubt is proof that you are ahead of your time. Every revolutionary idea faces resistance. Every innovative strategy encounters skepticism. Every visionary leader confronts doubt. This is not a bug in the system. This is a feature. Doubt is not evidence that you are wrong. Doubt is evidence that you are early. When I proposed promoting soldiers based on merit rather than birth, the aristocracy was scandalized. When I suggested that artillery could determine the outcome of battles, military traditionalists scoffed. When I envisioned a legal code that would apply equally to all citizens, legal scholars expressed disbelief. They doubted because they could not see what I could see. They doubted because they were thinking with yesterday's logic while I was operating with tomorrow's vision. They doubted because they were trapped in current reality while I was creating future reality. But here's what most people don't understand about being ahead of your time. It is lonely. It is isolating. It is frustrating. When you see what others cannot see, you cannot share the excitement of your vision with them. When you understand what others do not understand, you cannot expect validation from them. Being early means being alone. Being visionary means being misunderstood. Being ahead means being doubted. But let me ask you this. If everyone already agreed with your vision, what would that tell you about your vision? It would tell you that your vision is not visionary. It would tell you that your innovation is not innovative. It would tell you that your leadership is not leading anywhere new. If everyone understands your strategy immediately, your strategy is probably not strategic enough. If everyone supports your plan from the beginning, your plan is probably not ambitious enough. If everyone believes in your vision without hesitation, your vision is probably not revolutionary enough. Doubt is the price of innovation. Skepticism is the cost of revolution. Disbelief is the tax on transformation. When I declared that France could conquer Europe, they doubted, because no one had conquered Europe since Charlemagne. When I claimed that merit could triumph over birth, they doubted, because aristocracy had ruled for centuries. When I insisted that speed could defeat size, they doubted, because conventional wisdom favored larger armies. But conventional wisdom is conventional precisely because it is not wisdom. It is not insight. It is not vision. Conventional wisdom is the average thinking of average people about average possibilities. You are not average. Your goals are not average. Your vision is not average. So why would you expect average people to understand it immediately? Here's what most people don't understand about the relationship between doubt and timing. The more revolutionary your idea, the more doubt it will generate. The more innovative your approach, the more skepticism it will encounter. The more visionary your leadership, the more disbelief it will face. This is not a problem to be solved. This is a signal to be recognized. When you face significant doubt, you are probably onto something significant. When you encounter serious skepticism, you are probably pursuing something serious. When you confront substantial disbelief, you are probably creating something substantial. Doubt means you are thinking beyond current limitations. Skepticism means you are operating beyond current boundaries. Disbelief means you are reaching beyond current possibilities. But here's what most people don't understand about being early. Early is not wrong. Early is just early. The market will catch up to your innovation. Society will adapt to your revolution. History will validate your vision, but only if you persist through the doubt, only if you continue despite the skepticism, only if you advance regardless of the disbelief. Most people abandon their revolutionary ideas when they encounter doubt. They modify their innovative strategies when they face skepticism. They reduce their visionary goals when they confront disbelief. This is why most revolutionary ideas never become revolutions. This is why most innovations never innovate. This is why most visions never become reality. The doubters did not stop me because I understood what doubt really meant. It meant I was ahead. It meant I was early. It meant I was seeing what others had not yet learned to see. When they finally understood what I had understood years earlier, when they finally saw what I had seen from the beginning, when they finally believed what I had always known to be true, they called me a genius. But I was not a genius. I was simply early. I was willing to pursue visions that others were not yet ready to understand. I was willing to implement strategies that others were not yet ready to accept. I was willing to lead in directions that others were not yet ready to follow. If no one doubts you, you are probably following rather than leading. If everyone agrees with you, you are probably thinking conventionally rather than revolutionarily. If no one questions you, you are probably operating within current limitations rather than beyond them. Doubt means you are early. Embrace it. Skepticism means you are innovative. Welcome it. Disbelief means you are visionary. Celebrate it. You are not behind. You are ahead. You are not wrong. You are early. You are not failing. You are leading. Let them doubt. Let them catch up later. History will vindicate your vision, validate your strategy, and celebrate your leadership, but only if you refuse to let their doubt convince you that you are wrong when you are simply early. Leadership is lonely. Good. Solitude sharpens focus. Use isolation to strengthen your resolve. At the height of my power, ruling an empire that stretched across Europe, I was more alone than I had ever been. The crown isolates. Command separates. Leadership creates distance between you and everyone else, including those closest to you. This isolation is not accidental. It is inevitable. When you make decisions that affect thousands, you cannot consult with thousands. When you bear responsibility for outcomes that matter to millions, you cannot share that responsibility with millions. When you see what others cannot see, you cannot expect them to understand your perspective. Leadership isolates because leadership requires a different relationship with reality than followership. Leaders must think beyond current circumstances while others react to current circumstances. Leaders must plan for future possibilities while others focus on present problems. Leaders must accept responsibility for outcomes while others can blame circumstances. But here's what most people don't understand about isolation. They fear it. They avoid it. They try to escape it through constant communication, endless consultation, perpetual collaboration. They mistake isolation for loneliness, solitude for abandonment, independence for disconnection. This is weakness. This is need. This is dependence disguised as teamwork. But let me ask you this. When did you last have a truly original thought while surrounded by other people? When did you last solve a difficult problem while engaged in conversation? When did you last develop a revolutionary strategy while participating in a meeting? Original thinking requires solitude. Deep planning demands isolation. Revolutionary vision needs independence from the conventional thinking that surrounds you constantly. When I planned the invasion of Austria, I did not brainstorm with committees. I thought alone. When I developed the strategy for the Italian campaign, I did not seek consensus from advisors. I calculated alone. When I envisioned the restructuring of European power, I did not collaborate with diplomats. I conceived alone. Isolation was not my punishment. Isolation was my advantage. Here's what most people don't understand about solitude. It eliminates distraction. It removes interference. It stops the constant input that prevents original output. Solitude creates the mental space necessary for deep thinking, strategic planning, and visionary leadership. But solitude requires courage. It requires the willingness to be alone with your thoughts, your doubts, your fears, your ambitions. It requires the strength to think independently rather than collectively. It requires the confidence to trust your own judgment rather than seeking validation from others. Most people cannot handle solitude because solitude forces them to confront themselves. In solitude, you cannot blame your circumstances on others. You cannot attribute your failures to external forces. You cannot hide your limitations behind group dynamics. In solitude, you face yourself completely. your strengths, your weaknesses, your capabilities, your limitations, your potential, your reality. This terrifies most people, but it should liberate leaders. When I was exiled to Elba, they thought they were punishing me with isolation. Instead, they gave me the gift of uninterrupted thinking. They provided me with the opportunity to analyze my strategies, refine my plans, and prepare for my return. What they intended as limitation, I used as preparation. Isolation became my planning phase. Solitude became my strategic advantage. Distance from others became closeness to clarity. Here's what most people don't understand about turning isolation into focus. You must reframe isolation from punishment to privilege. You must transform solitude from loneliness to opportunity. You must convert separation from others into connection with your vision. When others exclude you, use the exclusion to include yourself more deeply in your goals. When others isolate you, use the isolation to focus more intensely on your objectives. When others distance themselves from you, use the distance to move closer to your destiny. Isolation forces you to rely on your own thinking rather than borrowing thinking from others. Solitude compels you to trust your own judgment rather than depending on judgment from others. Independence requires you to develop your own strength rather than leaning on strength from others. This makes you stronger. This makes you clearer. This makes you more capable, not less capable. But here's what most people don't understand about leadership isolation. It is temporary. Once you achieve your vision, once you accomplish your goals, once you prove your strategy, others will want to join you. The same people who isolated you will want to associate with you. The same people who distanced themselves will want to move closer. But by then, you will have developed the ability to lead without need, to think without consultation, to decide without consensus. You will have transformed from someone who needs others to someone others need. Leadership is lonely. Good. Use the loneliness to develop independence. Use the isolation to sharpen focus. Use the solitude to strengthen resolve. When they exclude you, include yourself more deeply in your mission. When they abandon you, commit more completely to your vision. When they isolate you, use the isolation to become unstoppable. Solitude sharpens focus like nothing else can. Isolation strengthens resolve like nothing else will. Independence develops capability like nothing else does. Turn isolation into your advantage. Turn solitude into your strength. Turn loneliness into leadership preparation. The crown is heavy. The throne is isolated. Command is lonely. Good. That isolation is what separates leaders from followers, emperors from subjects, conquerors from crowds. Speak less. Win more. A reputation built on action is untouchable. Words fade. Promises are forgotten. Explanations become irrelevant, but results endure. Results create reputation. Results build legacy. Results speak louder than any voice, more persuasively than any argument, more convincingly than any defense. When I conquered Italy in less than a year, I did not issue proclamations about my military genius. The conquered territories spoke for me. When I stabilized France as first consul, I did not write essays about my leadership capabilities. The restored order spoke for me. When I built an empire spanning most of Europe, I did not deliver speeches about my vision. The empire spoke. For me, results are the only language that everyone understands. Results are the only argument that cannot be refuted. Results are the only proof that requires no explanation. But here's what most people don't understand about letting results speak. You must be willing to work in silence while building your results. You must be comfortable with being underestimated while developing your capabilities. You must accept being misunderstood while creating your achievements. Most people cannot handle this. They need constant validation. They require regular acknowledgement. They demand immediate recognition. They want praise for their efforts, not just their outcomes. But let me ask you this. What is more powerful, telling people you are capable or showing people you are capable? What is more convincing, describing your potential or demonstrating Your performance? What is more impressive, promising great results or delivering great results? The answer is obvious. But most people choose the weaker option because the stronger option requires patience, discipline, and the confidence to let achievement speak for itself. When I was young artillery captain, I could have spent time networking with influential officers talking about my ambitions, promoting my potential. Instead, I spent time mastering my craft, studying strategy, preparing for opportunities to demonstrate capability rather than discuss it. When the opportunity came at Toulon, I did not debate my qualifications. I proved them. I did not argue. My readiness, I demonstrated it. I did not convince them I could take the port. I took the port. That single result spoke louder than years of conversation could have spoken. That one achievement created more credibility than endless self-promotion could have created. That demonstration of capability opened more doors than any amount of networking could have opened. Here's what most people don't understand about building reputation through results. Results compound. One significant achievement creates credibility. For attempting larger achievements, one substantial success generates trust for pursuing bigger successes. One undeniable victory builds confidence for planning greater victories. Results create a cycle of opportunity. Achievement leads to recognition. Recognition leads to bigger challenges. Bigger challenges lead to bigger achievements. Bigger achievements lead to greater recognition. But this cycle only works if you focus on delivering results rather than promoting yourself. It only functions if you concentrate on achievement rather than acknowledgement. It only operates if you prioritize performance over praise. Most people reverse this priority. They focus on getting credit for small efforts rather than delivering results from significant efforts. They work harder on promoting their potential than developing their capabilities. They invest more energy in managing their image than building their achievements. This approach guarantees mediocrity. When you focus on appearing successful rather than becoming successful, you never become truly successful. When you prioritize perception over performance, you never develop real performance. When you choose promotion over production, you never create anything worth promoting. But here's what most people don't understand about the power of silent achievement. When your results speak for you, they speak with absolute authority. When your achievements represent you, they represent you with unquestionable credibility. When your performance defends you, it defends you with irrefutable evidence. No one can argue with conquest. No one can debate stability. No one can dismiss empire. Results are facts, and facts end arguments. When my critics questioned my strategies, my victories answered them. When my enemies challenged my authority, my empire validated it. When my doubters predicted my failure, my success silenced them. Did not need to defend my methods because my results defended them. I did not need to justify my decisions because my outcomes justified them. I did not need to explain my vision because my achievements explained it. This is the power of letting results speak for you. Your results become your voice. Your achievements become your argument. Your success becomes your defense. But letting results speak requires discipline. It requires resisting the urge to explain, justify, defend, or promote while you are building. It requires focusing your energy on creating results rather than managing perceptions about those results. It requires patience. Results take time to develop. Achievements take time to materialize. Success takes time to become undeniable. During that time, you must be comfortable with being underestimated, misunderstood, or ignored. But when your results finally speak, they speak with a volume and authority that no amount of words could ever achieve. When your achievements finally represent you, they represent you with a credibility that no amount of promotion could ever create. Here's what most people don't understand about reputation built on action. It is untouchable because it is undeniable. Critics can question your words. They cannot question your results. Skeptics can doubt your promises. They cannot doubt your achievements. Enemies can attack your motives. They cannot attack your success. A reputation built on results is a fortress. built on bedrock. It cannot be shaken because it is built on facts. It cannot be destroyed because it is constructed from achievements. It cannot be questioned because it is founded on evidence. Speak less. Win more. Let your results be your rhetoric. Let your achievements be your arguments. Let your success be your spokesperson. Work in silence until your work speaks so loudly that silence becomes impossible. Build in quiet until your building becomes so impressive that quiet becomes irrelevant. Achieve in private until your achievements become so public that privacy becomes unnecessary. The world is full of people who talk about what they will do. Be among the few who simply do what they said they would do. Let others make promises. You deliver results. Let others create expectations. You exceed them. Let others manage perceptions. You create reality. When your results speak for you, they speak with the voice of truth. And truth needs no amplification, no explanation, no defense. Truth simply is, just like your results will simply be, speak less, win more. Let your results speak for you. End your story with domination. Leave such results that even your doubters become believers, not because you argued, but because you conquered. This is your final test, not just to succeed, but to succeed so completely that doubt becomes impossible, not just to win, but to win so decisively that skepticism becomes irrelevant, not just to achieve, but to achieve so magnificently that even your harshest critics must acknowledge your mastery. Leave no doubt behind. Obliterate it through overwhelming success. When I completed the conquest of Europe, when I had defeated every coalition formed against me, when I had redrawn the map of the continent according to my vision, there was no longer any question about my capabilities. The very people who had mocked the Corsican upstart were forced to recognize the Emperor of the French. I did not convince them through argument. I convinced them through achievement. I did not win them over through charm. I won them over through conquest. I did not change their minds through discussion. I changed their reality through domination. But here's what most people don't understand about leaving no doubt behind. It is not about proving your critics wrong. It is about making their criticism irrelevant. It is not about changing their opinion of you. It is about changing the facts so dramatically that their opinion becomes meaningless. When you dominate your field so completely that doubt becomes absurd, you have achieved something greater than success. You have achieved inevitability. You have reached the point where your continued success is not questioned because it has become expected. But let me ask you this. Why do most people stop short of total domination? Because domination requires more than most people are willing to give. Domination demands everything. Domination accepts no excuses. Domination tolerates no compromises. Domination requires absolute commitment to absolute excellence. Most people are satisfied with partial success. They are content with modest achievement. They are comfortable with limited victory. They achieve enough to silence some critics, but not enough to silence all critics. They succeed enough to gain some respect, but not enough to gain total respect. This is not domination. This is participation. This is not conquest. This is survival. This is not empire building. This is territory holding. But true leaders are not satisfied with participation. True conquerors are not content with survival. True emperors are not comfortable with territory holding. When I set out to build an empire, I did not plan to build a modest kingdom. When I decided to conquer Europe, I did not settle for conquering a province. When I envisioned reshaping the world, I did not compromise by making minor adjustments. I planned for total victory. I prepared for complete domination. I executed with absolute determination to leave no doubt behind about what I was capable of achieving. Here's what most people don't understand about total domination. It is not about destroying your enemies. It is about making enemy impossible to maintain. It is not about defeating your critics. It is about making criticism impossible to sustain. It is not about winning over your doubters. It is about making doubt impossible to justify. When you dominate so completely that continued opposition becomes obviously futile, something powerful happens. Your former enemies become allies. Your former critics become supporters. Your former doubters become believers, not because you convinced them, because you overwhelmed them, not because you argued with them, because you made argument unnecessary, not because you proved them wrong, because you made being wrong obvious. But total domination requires total commitment. You cannot dominate part-time. You cannot conquer with partial effort. You cannot build empire through moderate ambition. Domination demands everything you have and everything you can become. It requires sacrificing comfort for achievement, security for success, approval for accomplishment. But here's what most people don't understand about the price of domination. The price of domination is temporary. The pain of achieving domination lasts months or years, but the power of having achieved domination lasts decades or centuries. The price of not achieving domination is permanent. When you settle for partial success, you live with permanent regret. When you accept limited achievement, you live with permanent limitation. When you choose moderate victory, you live with permanent mediocrity. Which price are you willing to pay? The temporary price of total effort or the permanent price of partial effort? Your doubters are counting on you to settle for partial success. They expect you to achieve enough to feel satisfied, but not enough to be unstoppable. They predict you will win enough battles to survive, but not enough battles to dominate. Disappoint them one final time. Do not just succeed, dominate. Do not just win, conquer. Do not just achieve. Overwhelm. Leave such results that doubt becomes impossible. Create such achievements that skepticism becomes absurd. Build such success that criticism becomes irrelevant. End your story with domination. Leave no doubt behind. Make your success so complete, so undeniable, so overwhelming, that even those who doubted you from the beginning must acknowledge what you have accomplished, not because you argued with them, not because you convinced them, not because you proved them wrong, but because you conquered. Completely, totally, absolutely. You already have what it takes. Now, go prove it. Leave before you're forgotten. End conversations on a high note. Exit with grace, and you'll be remembered long after you've gone. The art of the exit is one of the most underrated social skills. Most people know how to make an entrance, but few know how to make an exit. They linger too long, fade into the background, or leave awkwardly. They miss the opportunity to create a lasting impression with their departure. But the most magnetic people understand something crucial. How you leave is as important as how you arrive. I learned this from watching a master networker at a conference. She didn't stay at any conversation too long, but she didn't rush away either. She found natural moments to transition, expressed genuine appreciation for the conversation, and left people wanting more instead of relieved she was gone every exit. Felt intentional, graceful, memorable. Because she understood that people remember beginnings and endings more than middles. Think about your favorite movies, your most memorable meals, your best vacations. What you remember most clearly are the opening moments and the closing scenes, the start that drew you in and the ending that left you satisfied. Conversations work the same way, but let me ask you this. How do you typically end conversations? Do you fade away gradually until you're forgotten? Do you interrupt abruptly to escape? Do you linger until the energy dies? Or do you find graceful moments to create memorable endings? Because your exit strategy says as much about you as your entrance does. Here's what most people get wrong about endings. They think the goal is just to get away. But the real goal is to leave the other person feeling good about the interaction and good about you. Great exits accomplish three things. They honor the conversation that just happened. They express genuine appreciation for the other person. And they create anticipation for future connection. This has been such an insightful conversation. I really appreciate your perspective on. I've enjoyed hearing about your project. I'd love to continue this discussion sometime. Thank you for sharing your story. It's given me a lot to think about. You're not just leaving, you're completing the interaction with intention and grace. I once watched two people handle the same networking situation completely differently. Both needed to move on to other conversations, but their approaches created entirely different impressions. The first person glanced at his watch, said, "Well, I should probably go talk to some other people," and drifted away mid-sentence. Functional, but forgettable. The second person waited for a natural pause, said, "I've really enjoyed learning about your work in sustainable design. I don't want to monopolize your time, but I'd love to continue this conversation soon." Exchanged cards purposefully and left the other person smiling. Same outcome. Both moved on to other conversations. Completely different impact. The art of exit requires timing, intention, and execution. Timing means recognizing natural conversation breaks. When a story concludes, when a question is fully answered, when energy reaches a peak before it starts to decline. You're looking for moments when the conversation feels complete, not interrupted. Intention means having a purpose for your exit that goes beyond just wanting to leave. Maybe you want to introduce them to someone else. Maybe you want to follow up on something they mentioned. Maybe you genuinely need to handle something else. Having a real reason for leaving makes the exit feel natural rather than forced. Execution means ending with appreciation, connection, and forward momentum. Thank them for something specific they shared. Acknowledge something you learned or enjoyed. Create a reason to reconnect if appropriate. But here's what great exits aren't. They're not abrupt escapes. They're not fadeaway disappearances. They're not awkward announcements that you're leaving. They're conscious conclusions to meaningful interactions. The best exits also consider the other person's experience. Are you leaving them alone when they don't know anyone else? Are you ending the only engaging conversation they've had? Are you abandoning them in an awkward social situation? Sometimes a graceful exit includes connecting them with someone else, introducing them to the host, or making sure they're comfortable before you. Move on. I learned to master exits by practicing specific language. I want to be mindful of your time. I don't want to monopolize the conversation. Before I let you get back to, I'm so glad we had a chance to connect. Phrases that acknowledge both people's value and time while creating space for a natural transition. The most memorable people don't just know how to engage. They know how to disengage with grace. They understand that a great exit can transform a good conversation into a lasting connection. They leave people wanting more. Instead of relieved, they're gone. They create anticipation for future interactions instead of dread about running into them again. Because here's the truth about human psychology. People remember how you made them feel when you left, as much as how you made them feel when you arrived. So, master the art of exit. End conversations on high notes. Leave when energy is strong, not when it's dying. Express genuine appreciation. Create forward momentum. Exit with intention, grace, and style. Because the most interesting people know that sometimes the most memorable thing you can do is leave at exactly the right moment, in exactly the right way. Confidence compounds. Show up again and again. Interested, prepared, warm, and the world will start seeing you differently. One great interaction makes you memorable. Consistent great interactions make you indispensable. Your reputation isn't built in a moment. It's built in moments. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. Each interaction either adding to or subtracting from the person others believe you to be. And the most magnetic people understand that consistency creates magnetism more than any single brilliant performance ever could. I learned this by watching someone transform from invisible to influential over the course of 2 years. She wasn't the smartest person in the organization, wasn't the most talented, wasn't the most experienced, but she was the most consistent. Every meeting, she came prepared and engaged. Every conversation, she listened more than she spoke. Every interaction, she made others feel valued and heard. Every project, she delivered what she promised. Slowly, imperceptibly, People started seeking her out. Her opinion began to matter. Her presence became expected, then required, then essential, because repetition builds reputation. But let me ask you this. If someone observed your last 10 social interactions, what patterns would they see? What consistent qualities would emerge? What reputation would you be building through your repeated behavior? Because every single interaction is either building the brand of who you are or chipping away at it. Here's what most people don't understand about reputation building. It's not about being perfect. It's about being predictably valuable. It's not about having the best performance every time. It's about having a consistently positive impact every time. People don't remember your average. They remember your consistency. Think about the people you most trust, most respect, most want to be around. Are they the ones who occasionally blow you away with their brilliance? Or are they the ones who consistently show up as their best selves? The ones you can count on to be engaged, prepared, interested, authentic. The ones who make you feel good about yourself every time you interact with them. Consistency creates trust. Trust creates influence. Influence creates opportunities. I once worked with an executive who was frustrated that his ideas weren't getting traction. He was brilliant, innovative, strategic, but his reputation was inconsistent. Some days he was energetic and engaged. Other days he was distracted and dismissive. Some meetings he was prepared and insightful. Others he was scattered and reactive. People never knew which version of him would show up. So they stopped counting on him showing up at all. His inconsistency was undermining his competency. We worked on creating consistent patterns, a pre-meeting routine that helped him show up prepared and present, a communication style that remained warm and respectful regardless of his mood, a commitment to listening first and speaking second in every interaction, not dramatic changes, just consistent behaviors that slowly rebuilt his reputation, because reputation is like compound interest. Small, consistent deposits create massive returns over time. The most magnetic people have identified their core qualities, the characteristics they want to be known for, and they express those qualities consistently. If they want to be known as thoughtful, they ask thoughtful questions in every conversation. If they want to be known as reliable, they follow through on every commitment, no matter how small. They understand that reputation is built one interaction at a time. Here's what consistent magnetism looks like. Always arriving prepared, always listening with full attention, always treating everyone with respect, regardless of their position, always following up when you say you will, always bringing positive energy, even on difficult days. Not because you feel like it every time, but because it's who you've decided to be every time. I learned to build consistency by creating systems, not relying on motivation. Pre-interaction routines that help me show up as my best self. Post-interaction habits that help me follow through effectively. Daily practices that maintain my energy and focus, because motivation is unreliable. Systems are scalable. The people who become indispensable aren't the most talented. They're the most consistent. They're the ones you can count on to show up, engage meaningfully, add value, and follow through. They're the ones who make every interaction a little bit better than it would have been without them. But here's what builds the most powerful reputation of all: consistency in making others feel important. Not just when it's convenient, not just when they can help you, not just when you're in a good mood always. Every person, every interaction, every time. When you consistently make others feel valued, heard, and appreciated, you become someone they consistently want to be around. When you reliably bring curiosity, warmth, and genuine interest to every conversation, you become someone people reliably seek out. When you repeatedly show up as your best self, others start expecting your best self. And expecting becomes inviting. And inviting becomes requiring, because the world has too many inconsistent people. Too many people who are sometimes engaging, sometimes prepared, sometimes thoughtful, sometimes kind. The world is desperate for people who are consistently valuable. reliably positive, predictably excellent. So, show up. Again and again, prepared, engaged, curious, warm, not just when you feel like it, not just when it matters most. Every time, because confidence compounds, consistency creates magnetism, and reputation is built one repeated interaction at a time. Show up as your best self so consistently that people forget you have any other setting. That's how you go from memorable to indispensable. You don't need to fake anything. You need to practice. Because when you act as if you're interesting, you become it. When you act as if you're confident, you develop it. When you act as if you belong, you do. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. This is about practicing being who you're becoming. The most magnetic people you know weren't born that way. They decided to become that way. They chose the person they wanted to be and then acted consistently with that choice until it became natural, automatic, authentic. They acted as if until it was just who they were. I learned this from watching my mentor transform from someone who was terrified of public speaking to someone who commanded rooms effortlessly. He didn't wait to feel confident before acting confident. He acted confident in his posture, his voice, his preparation, until confidence became his natural state. He didn't fake it till he made it. He practiced it till he became it. There's a profound difference. Here's what most people misunderstand about personal transformation. They think they need to feel different before they can act different. But the reverse is true. You need to act different before you'll feel different. Your identity follows your actions more than your actions follow your identity. But let me ask you this. Who do you want to be in social situations? Someone who's naturally confident? Someone who's genuinely interesting? Someone who makes others feel comfortable and valued? Then start acting like that person. Not as a performance, but as practice. Act as if you're someone who belongs in every room you enter. How would that person walk? How would they sit? How would they introduce themselves? What questions would they ask? How would they listen? Practice those behaviors until they become unconscious. Act as if you're someone who's genuinely interested in others. How would that person engage in conversations? What would they notice? How would they respond? What would they remember? Practice that level of attention until it becomes natural. Act as if you're someone who has valuable contributions to make. How would that person prepare for interactions? How would they share their thoughts? How would they handle disagreement? How would they support their points? Practice that level of engagement until it becomes automatic. I once coached someone who wanted to become more influential at work but felt like an imposter whenever she tried to speak up in meetings. We didn't work on feeling more confident. We worked on acting more confident. We practiced her posture, her vocal delivery, her preparation routine. We practiced how she would enter rooms, how she would position herself at tables, how she would make eye contact while speaking. We practiced the external behaviors of confidence until they began to generate the internal feelings of confidence. And something remarkable happened. As she consistently acted like someone who belonged, she began to feel like someone who belonged. As she practiced speaking with authority, her actual authority grew. As she behaved like someone worth listening to, others started listening. Her actions created her identity, not the other way around. But here's what act as if doesn't mean. It doesn't mean pretending to be someone completely different. It doesn't mean adopting a false personality. It doesn't mean performing a character. It means practicing the best version of yourself until that becomes your default version, the confident. You is still you. The interesting you is still you. The magnetic you is still you. Just more practiced, more developed, more consistent. You're not becoming someone else. You're becoming more yourself. Think about any skill you've ever mastered. Did you wait to feel like a skilled pianist before practicing piano? Did you wait to feel like an athlete before training? Did you wait to feel like a professional before acting professionally? Of course not. You practiced the behaviors until they created the identity. Social confidence works the same way. The most magnetic people have simply practiced magnetism longer and more consistently than others. they've acted like someone worth knowing until they became someone worth knowing. They've behaved like someone worth talking to until they became someone worth talking to. They've practiced being interesting until being interesting became who they are. So, start practicing. Start acting as if you're the person you want to become. In social situations, not fake it, practice it, not pretend it, develop it. Not perform it, become it. Act as if you're someone who brings value to every interaction. Then find ways to actually bring value. Act as if you're someone who's genuinely interested in others. Then cultivate genuine interest. Act as if you're someone who belongs. Then show up like you belong. Practice the external behaviors until they generate the internal reality. Practice the actions until they create the identity. Practice the performance until it becomes authentic. Because here's the beautiful truth about human transformation. You become what you consistently practice. You develop into what you repeatedly do. You transform into what you consciously choose to be. Every time you act as if you're confident, you're building actual confidence. Every time you act as if you're interesting, you're developing actual magnetism. Every time you act as if you belong, you're creating actual belonging. You don't need to wait to feel ready. You don't need to wait to feel worthy. You don't need to wait to feel confident. Start acting like the person you want to become. Start practicing the behaviors that person would demonstrate. Start showing up the way that person would show up. Acta as if you're already the most interesting person in the room. Not because you're pretending, but because you're practicing, until one day you realize you're not practicing anymore. You're just being who you are. If this message spoke to you, subscribe for more powerful mindset content. Let us know in the comments what part hit you the hardest. You already have what it takes. Now go prove it.